Let the doors be open, qu'on ouvre les portes. Oh, I see. Order. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Beaches, East York.
Speaker, I rise today to recognize the achievements of a formidable group of men, women, and youth. The Balmy Beach Club is a historic local landmark in Beaches, East York, home to the greatest rugby club in Canada. As winners of back-to-back provincial championships in 2014 and 2015, and after a perfect 20-win, undefeated season in 2011, they have the most provincial championships in Ontario rugby history. My friend, Corey Applesauce Appleton, leads the back-to-back champion seconds team, and their under-25 academy team won the Toronto Rugby Union Men's Championship last year. We should also be proud of our national programs, as two of our teams prepare for the Summer Olympic Games in Brazil, where Rugby Sevens joins the sports program. And this month, our national senior men's team will be hosting a series of international matches in Vancouver, Calgary, and my hometown, Toronto. Let me close by acknowledging Rugby Canada's world-class safe sport program, Play Smart, and by thanking Jerry Allen, a longtime Beaches resident, for his tireless work promoting the club and the game. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Milton.
Mr. Speaker, for the past few years, many of my constituents have been involved in an effort to raise awareness of a proposed CN intermodal facility in my riding of Milton. Today, I hope to present petitions signed by more than 4,000 of my residents opposed to this proposal. Now, while my feelings on the facility are well known, I'd like to take this opportunity today to recognize the leadership and the organizational efforts of the following: Rita Post and Milton Rail, Stacey Newman and Milton Says No, Milton Town Council, the Mayor of Milton, His Worship Gord Krantz, and Gary Carr, the Regional Chair. It's never easy for volunteer organizations to compete with the resources of a much larger corporation, but these petitions are a testament to their hard work and their determination. I made a commitment to stand with my constituents, and I do so today, and I encourage the Minister of Transport to work with our community to help find a solution. Thank you.
Honourable member for Fleetwood, Port Kells.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to salute an old friend and colleague, Jim Harrison of CHNL Radio in Kamloops, on his forthcoming retirement as news director. Jim's led one of British Columbia's most celebrated newsrooms for over 40 years, practically since the station signed on. And in that time, he distinguished himself as a leader, the one who molded many fine news reporters and founded NL's reputation as one of BC's best radio news operations. Jim's instincts and integrity as a reporter, his deep understanding of the roots of the community, and his storytelling skills, be it a news item or the daily editorials that he produced over all those years, have produced numerous awards for his newsroom and for himself in 2007, the Bruce Hutchison Lifetime Achievement Award. Retired but never retiring, Jim, like so many recovering broadcasters, will still be a presence on the air. And I want to take this opportunity to pass on my best wishes for many more years of service and success at Radio NL.
The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Tomorrow, June 2nd, is the first ever World Eating Disorders Action Day. I voice sympathy for those we've lost to eating disorders and our compassion and encouragement for those battling an eating disorder and their families. You see, about 80% of people with eating disorders are girls or women. Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, yet full recovery is possible. Here in Canada, organizations such as Windsor's Bulimia, Anorexia, and Nervosa Association work hard to advance awareness, research, and treatment of this misunderstood illness. The Government of Canada should work with them, allocate more funding for research, and work with provinces and territories to establish a national strategy for the elimination of these eating disorders.
The honourable member for Don Valley West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with great pleasure that I rise today to acknowledge the 100th anniversary of Hodgson Senior Public School, an outstanding institution that has dedicated a century to nurturing generations of local youth. Located in Midtown Toronto in the heart of Don Valley West, Hodgson opens its doors in the middle of World War I. Since then, they have been committed to serving the North Toronto community, offering unique programs designed to accommodate students from varying backgrounds and learning styles. I'm proud to salute the students, faculty, and alumni of Hodgson Senior Public School for 100 years of exceptional work. Hodgson, quite importantly, provides students with an extensive co-curricular program, a safe learning environment, and a faculty that encourages students to follow their passions and achieve their full potential. A special shout out to their music program, especially the percussion section. Please join me in celebrating 100 years of Hodgson Senior Public School.
The honourable member for Peace River Westlawn.
Mr. Speaker, the hardworking people of Alberta contribute greatly to Canada's economic well-being. However, Liberal and NDP policies have resulted in over 100,000 unemployed Albertans. Yep. Let's be clear, these skilled workers are not looking for handouts. They want to get back to work. That's right. One of these hardworking Albertans is Jason DeBrule, an out-of-work oilfield worker from my riding who's frustrated with watching investment leave our country because this government's dithering. Jason is tired of seeing hardworking families lose their homes and face bankruptcy. So last month, Jason started a campaign to draw attention to the lack of support for our energy sector. He left his home in Falher, Alberta, and walked 430 kilometers to deliver his message to the Alberta legislature. Today, Jason has brought his campaign to Parliament Hill, and as the voice of over 100,000 unemployed Albertans, Mr. Speaker, I hope the Prime Minister and the Liberal government is listening to Albertans like Jason and will stop dragging their feet on pipelines, while countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Russia are all too happy to pick up the slack. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last week I was joined by Tanimont Royal Mayor Philippe Roy and the TMR Town Council as we unveiled a plaque declaring TMR a National Historical Site of Canada.
The city was designed by Frederick Todd, an urban planner who was strongly influenced by the Cité Beautiful and Cité Jardin movements. It was incorporated in 1912 as part of an initiative by the Canadian Northern Railway Company.
Its centre, traversed by two wide major boulevards which cut through the town, with setback streets and a ring of parks spread through the municipality, TMR is one of the most beautiful spots on the Montreal Island.
Its residents come from both official language communities of Canada and from a wide range of cultures, races, and religions.
TMR's diversity is its strength. Bravo, Mont-Royal.
Bravo, Mount Royal.
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to celebrate the Italian national holiday, Festa della Repubblica. 70 years ago, on June 2nd, 1946, the people of Italy demonstrated exceptional resilience in the aftermath of the Second World War by voting to establish the modern-day Italian Republic. Festa della Repubblica not only serves as a commemoration of that landmark in modern Italian history, but also as the beginning to Ontario's Italian Heritage Month in June, a month-long celebration of the tremendous contributions that Italian Canadians have made to Ontario. Italians have played an instrumental and invaluable role in building strong communities across Canada, and through their ingenuity, hard work, and cultural endowments, continue to drive Canadian development into the 21st century. I invite my colleagues to join me in this opportunity to salute the heritage, culture, and values of over 1.5 million Italian Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Grazie mille, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo. Elgin, the honourable member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to acknowledge that today, June 1st, is the beginning of Canada's first Pride Month. In far too many countries around the world, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals are among the poorest, most marginalized members of society, found jobless, homeless, and struggling to survive. In some cases, LGBTQ individuals, as a result of who they are rejected by their families, kicked out of their homes, and pushed out of school. Our nation was built on common values such as tolerance, openness, and diversity, and we must continue to be a model of an inclusive society. As a country, we must show future generations that the best way to advance our shared goals is to embrace all members of our human family, regardless of whom they are or whom they love. I implore all Canadians to stand with me in encouraging our LGBTQ brothers and sisters to be proud of who they are, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Thank you.
The honourable member for John Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, I recently had the privilege of visiting Tanzania to see firsthand how the Government of Canada is working with partners like World Vision to improve the health of women and children while helping communities overcome poverty and injustice. We saw development aid at work. Communities have been transformed and empowered through World Vision's long-term health and livelihood programs. We also saw that much work remains to be done if the poorest women and children are to have access to family planning, skilled help during pregnancy, and better nutrition for themselves and their babies. Mr. Speaker, reaching the Sustainable Development Goal of zero preventable deaths is possible in places like Tanzania. I am proud to say that this remains a top priority for Canada, and I look forward to working with my fellow parliamentarians to increase our focus on empowering the most vulnerable women and children to achieve a high level and sustainable quality of life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, today is the start of ALS Awareness Month. ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, does not have a cure nor an effective treatment. In Canada, up to 3,000 people are living with ALS, and about 1/3 of them will succumb to the disease this year. Last year, the Ice Bucket Challenge raised $15 million for ALS research, but we need to do more. Comme nous le savons tous.
As we all know, our good friend and colleague, the honourable member for Ottawa-Vanier, suffers from this terrible disease. I myself and many other members of this House will join the ALS walk here in Ottawa on his behalf on Saturday, June 11th. I encourage Canadians to join in one of the 90 walks taking place across the country and to support ALS research with a donation at als.ca.
Word on social media using the hashtag ALS Awareness. Thank you.
The honourable member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for a moment today to talk about a friend of this chamber, our current ambassador to Ireland, Ambassador Kevin Vickers, who we all recall on October 22nd, 2014, responded in the face of danger and turned a tragic day and prevented it from becoming far worse. He has a lifetime of service to this country, 29 years in the RCMP, 8 years as our Sergeant of Arms, many decorations, including Canada's Star of Courage. On October 23rd, the Prime Minister, then the third-party leader, Mr. Speaker, said to Kevin, "Without your courage, a terrible situation would have become much worse." Last week in Ireland, there was a situation that developed at an event. Mr. Vickers responded instinctively to make sure that there were no threats to those attending. As our ambassador, using minimal force, Mr. Speaker, he responded out of instincts to make sure that a situation did not get worse. He made Canada proud, Mr. Speaker. So I ask all members of this House, and I ask the Prime Minister, to show his support for our ambassador in Ireland, Kevin Vickers, here today in this House.
The honourable member for York South Weston.
Mr. Speaker, the month of June represents Portuguese Heritage Month. The Portuguese Canadian community is a vibrant community that has enhanced the Canadian mosaic with its history, language, and culture. Portuguese explorers were among the first Europeans to see Canadian soil. Ma circonscription de York South Weston.
My riding of York South Weston is the home to one of the most vital and vibrant Portuguese communities in Canada. Each year, during the week of June 10th, Portuguese communities gather in the streets of Toronto wearing traditional costumes to commemorate and to celebrate themselves by displaying their sense of harmony and cultural uniqueness in multiple ways to other Canadians. I look forward to attend many of these festivities.
Canadians to take part in these commemorative events in their communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, today will be a very emotional day for Albertans as the first group of Fort McMurray residents return to their city to witness firsthand the fate of their homes. There's likely not a single Albertan, let alone Canadian, without a family member, friend, or colleague impacted by the fire. My own cousin, a nurse in Fort McMurray, and her husband, a senior airport employee, were evacuated and now kindly hosted by Edmonton Friends. Both look forward to returning home. Everyone is grateful for the valiant work by the firefighters, from local Indigenous firefighters to those from across the nation and the globe, and for the generous donations from near and far. Recovery will be a long process. Fort McMurray Strong needs a long-term commitment from the federal government to help tackle the daunting task of recovery and rebuilding critical infrastructure and fire mitigation. Canadians will be here for you for the long term.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
Mr. Speaker, June is ALS Awareness Month. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is a rapidly progressive fatal motor neuron disease that leaves those affected in a state of progressive paralysis. In 2005, my father succumbed to ALS after a 4-year fight, so it's affected me personally. And all members in this House have witnessed the courage of the member for Ottawa-Vanier as he battles this terrible disease. Each year at this time, friends, family, and supporters of those suffering from ALS dedicate their time and energy to raise awareness for a treatment and a cure. In dozens of communities across the country, the Walk for ALS is taking place to help raise funds for critical research and support. I encourage each member to wear a cornflower today to demonstrate our support in the fight against ALS so that together we can support victims and families and promote research to find a cure.
The honourable member for Long Range Mountains.
Monsieur le Président, c'est le sommet.
Mr. Speaker, this is Tourism Week in Canada.
One of the best countries in the world to visit. From the breathtaking scenery and inspiring natural surroundings in our national parks to our beautiful and vibrant urban centres, Canada gives travellers amazing experiences and memories that keep them coming back. The $90 billion per year tourism industry is an integral part of our economy, employing nearly 640,000 jobs directly and over 1 million jobs indirectly. We recognize that when the tourism industry flourishes, so do the hundreds of thousands of Canadian families supported by the industry. And that's why we added tourism as a new category to the Building Canada Fund, and why we provided an additional $50 million for the new marketing campaigns in the United States and other key markets. Mr. Speaker, as we get ready for Canada's 150th, let's all get out and enjoy our country's awe-inspiring natural wonders, our vibrant cultural life, and support our local economies across our nation from coast to coast to coast.
Oral questions. Questions orales. Honorable chef de l'opposition.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today we learned that Canadian Special Forces recently came under fire in a battle near Mosul in Iraq. This directly contradicts the Prime Minister's claims that Canada is only doing training. On this side of the House, we've been clear Canada should be taking the fight to ISIS. But it was the Liberals who, for purely political reasons, claimed that all we'd be doing is training, insinuating that this would be much safer. How can the Prime Minister claim this is just a training mission when our troops are under fire?
Honourable Prime Minister.
We have said from the beginning, Mr. Speaker, is that Canada has an important role to play as part of the coalition against ISIL. And indeed, training on the ground, advising and assisting local troops in being able to bring the fight effectively to ISIL and reclaim their lands and territories, that's exactly what we've committed to do. On top of that, we're adding extra intelligence and medical support to ensure that Canada has the best impact in empowering local troops to defeat ISIL. That's what we committed to doing, and that's exactly what we are doing.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, our troops are doing extraordinary work in the fight against ISIS, but the Liberals have put them into a more dangerous mission, tried to call it training, and have withdrawn our CF-18s that are a key pillar to degrade the enemy. Make no mistake, if our troops come under fire, they should always respond with overwhelming force. But what the government shouldn't do is mislead Canadians about the nature of this mission. It's more dangerous and it is combat. Is the Prime Minister finally prepared to admit that Canada's mission in Iraq is combat?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the mission in Iraq is support, assist, and that's exactly what it is. It's focused on training. It is not a direct combat mission. It is not a combat mission. It's focused on empowering local troops to be able to counter ISIL. But of course, Canadian troops will always be allowed to defend themselves while they support local troops taking the fight to ISIL.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister continues to ram through his change to our voting system without giving Canadians a voice. He's rigged the process to get the results that he wants. Canadians know that this entire thing is a sham, and it shows a complete lack of respect for our democracy. Mr. Speaker, when's the Prime Minister going to climb down from this mess he's created and give Canadians what they want, which is a referendum?
Honourable Prime Minister.
you, Mr. Speaker. On October 19th of last year, Canadians indicated what they wanted. They voted majoritarily for parties that were committed to ending first past the post. That's exactly the commitment we made, and that's what we're moving forward with. Of course, as is our custom, as is our responsibility, unlike the opposition when they were in government, we will be consulting, working with opposition parties, working with experts, ensuring that we have the best possible electoral system going forward. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. The honourable member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, they're in debate in the House of Commons. The Liberals are preventing full consultation of Canadians. 73% of Canadians want a referendum. I think the Liberals should take that into account. The Prime Minister referred to people voting on October 19th. Well, let them vote in a referendum. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we have no intention of limiting debate here in the House of Commons, although I would encourage a healthy debate here in the House and at committee. But we all committed to consult Canadians directly to look into how we can improve our electoral system. We'll be working very hard to make sure Canadians play a major role in how we replace and improve our voting system. Now, a member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals will have a majority on the committee, and we don't agree with that. This is a fundamental issue, changing the way Canadians choose their elected officials to make decisions on their behalf. It's essential, Mr. Speaker, for the public to participate through a referendum. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Again, Mr. Speaker, this member is talking about listening to Canadians on something as important as how we vote. I find it a bit funny because they're the party who eliminated and limited voting rights for many people. They limited voting rights for many people without consulting. They made it harder for minority groups to vote, but in spite of that, Canadians made themselves heard and chose a party that will replace our electoral system. The honourable member for Outremont. Mr. Speaker, in 2007, for 9 days, the RCMP illegally spied on 2 Canadian journalists. The RCMP commissioner said he never authorized the surveillance. Mr. Speaker, the facts are very serious. This affects one of the foundations of our democracy, freedom of the press. Will the Prime Minister give in to our and journalists' calls for a public inquiry into these illegal RCMP activities? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious situation. As I've repeatedly said, it's wholly unacceptable that this happened in Canada. The RCMP has taken steps. The Office of Public Safety has taken steps. If the journalists in question or others have questions, the RCMP would be happy to answer their questions. It was a mistake. It's been settled and we've learned from the situation. The honourable member for Outremont. No, it's not a mistake. It's illegal conduct. The RCMP spied on journalists. It's serious. Something more has to be done than just saying cliche expressions.
Reaching the rights of Canadians by gathering data on people who simply ask for government information. Worse, it's not even the first time this has happened. It's a troubling trend when it comes to the government spying on Canadians. As we know, they also spied on journalists at the RCMP. Bill C-51 was the Conservatives' attack on our rights and freedoms. Why has the Prime Minister done nothing to get rid of C-51?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we have engaged in significant consultations with stakeholders. We're going to continue those. We've made clear commitments about improving C-51. We've made commitments to bring in an oversight committee of parliamentarians in which all parties will be able to participate to ensure that our national security agencies and security services are behaving both within respect of the law and the Charter and also doing everything they can to protect Canadians, because that's what Canadians expect.
Member for Outremont.
Canadians expect their rights to be protected by their Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. Today, the Liberals plan to force through their bill to strip protections for thousands of aerospace workers here in Canada by using closure and shutting down debate at third reading. The Prime Minister once stood shoulder to shoulder chanting solidarity with the very workers he's now abandoning. While other governments are making investments in our aerospace sector, will the Prime Minister provide one single reason why he's in such a rush to sell out Canadian aerospace jobs?
Prime Minister.
On the first issue the honourable member brought up, Canadians expect two things. They expect their government to protect their physical security and defend their rights. And we are the only party that indicated time and time again in the last election and since that we knew we needed to do both of those things together. On the question of an aerospace industry and the strong jobs that go with it, this government has been working tirelessly to ensure that Canadians have good jobs in the aerospace industry and that we have an aerospace industry good in the short term, medium term, and long term. That is what we're working on. That's what Canadians expect of us.
Now, member for Outremont. This week, the Quebec government again announced major investments in the aerospace industry. Meanwhile, back in Ottawa, the government is asleep at the wheel. Nothing on Bombardier, no aerospace policy. The only thing the government has done is cause 2,600 job losses at Air Canada. Why is the Prime Minister in such a rush to give Air Canada a blank check? They've never complied with the Act, and there were no consequences. Why are they so naive as to think that Air Canada will keep their word this time? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, our government is working hard to create jobs in the aerospace industry, not just now, but in the medium and long term too. That's why we're working with our partners like Bombardier and Air Canada all across the country to ensure investment in innovation, high-quality jobs in that industry. And we're going to continue to support and encourage investment in aeronautics in Canada all across the country. It's important to Canadians. It's important for jobs. It's important for our economy.
The honourable member for Banff-Airdrie.
Mr. Speaker, if the Minister of Democratic Institutions is actually interested in having a conversation on electoral reform, she can't just keep repeating random verbs and nouns. She actually has to listen. Consultation, conversation, listening, they're all great nouns and verbs, Mr. Speaker. But I have a noun for the Liberals, referendum. The Canadian people deserve one. Will the Liberals finally commit to one?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we continue to believe that listening to Canadians is our priority as members, but also my priority as Minister for Democratic Institutions. It is our responsibility as a House to ensure that the voices of our constituents are heard. I'm looking forward to this conversation happening in this House in a meaningful and respectful way beginning tomorrow.
The Honourable Member for Banff-Airdrie.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it seems like the Minister is confused about how conversations work. Both parties get to participate. The Liberals can't just dictate the result. The only person that's taking away from the conversation is the Minister by following the Prime Minister's preconceived notion of where he wants the consultations to arrive. So if the Liberals truly wanted to listen, they let each and every Canadian have a say through a referendum. So will the Liberals drop the Act already? Referendum, yes or no?
Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for this conversation. We listen to Canadians. Over 60% said that we need to review other options and we need to move beyond the status quo. We committed to bringing forward a committee made up of all members of this House, all parties of this House, to review the options available, including online voting, including mandatory voting. I'm looking forward to continuing a meaningful and respectful dialogue between all parties.
The honourable member for Richmond-Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister said here in the House that I was having trouble with the idea of listening. So yesterday I was looking for quotes from political analysts, reputable analysts, and here's what I found. The minister is burning bridges. The Liberal proposal is unsupportable. The Liberals were responsible for reassuring their political adversaries and did quite the opposite. Mr. Speaker, I can't be the only one who's having trouble listening. I would invite the minister to hold a referendum and consult Canadians. They're the ones with the real problem listening. The Honourable Minister.
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I have a great deal of respect for the media. I believe nothing is more important to democracy than a well-informed electorate. I also believe we need to listen to those whose voices have not been included in this conversation, like those with disabilities and exceptionalities, representatives of which we met with early on. What we're hearing from people with disabilities is that the path to voting is an obstacle course. An obstacle course, Mr. Speaker. Let's listen to these voices and improve our electoral system and the way people vote.
I'm going to ask member for Brantford Brant not to speak when someone else has the floor. He knows better than that, and we all do. Most members are able to hear things they don't like and disagree with without reacting. That's something we should all do because we're all adults. The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions has the floor. No, she's finished. Fine.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, the minister is lecturing us on partisanship in the House, the same minister who considers her tweets as a way of consulting. She has set up a stacked committee controlled by the Liberals without consultation. The minister has said here in the House that we in the opposition are the partisan ones. Seriously, Mr. Speaker, can the minister finally commit to holding a referendum so that all Canadians...
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we have committed to bringing together a committee made up of all parties to review the various options available to us. The purpose of this committee coming together is to hear from Canadians firsthand. And yes, using 21st century tools like social media is smart and necessary for us to make sure that all voices, as many voices as possible, are included in this conversation. I'm looking forward to a respectful and meaningful dialogue with all parties.
I'll member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the minister justified the government's hiring of a communications advisor who is a professional advocate for a ranked ballot system on the irrelevant basis that he wasn't hired for being a Liberal. But that, of course, is not the issue. He was hired because he's an advocate of the ranked ballot system. Why, when the different proposals have not even been submitted and the committee hasn't even been struck, is the Liberal Party already hiring somebody who has a position? Why are they putting in the fix before the process has even started? Why will they not simply allow a referendum?
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite knows quite well that this individual was hired by the Privy Council to work as a communications advisor, as a member of Canada's non-partisan public service. We are proud of the professional, non-partisan public service who come to work day in and day out with the sole purpose of serving Canadians. I encourage the member opposite to consider doing the same.
The member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Well, of course, the minister is mistaken. The role of the Privy Council, the role of the public service is to be non-biased. It is, however, to represent what the government wants. And what the government wants, apparently, is to have a single-member district preferential ballot system. So I'll ask the question again. Why did the Liberals hire an individual to communicate on behalf of ranked ballots? What possible reason could the Liberals have, unless they have already predetermined the outcome of this entire process? Is that why they don't want to allow Canadians to engage in a referendum?
The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions.
I reject the premise of the member's question, and I'd like to reassure him that what we committed to, and the only outcome that we have arrived at to this point, is bringing together parliamentarians in this place to review the options available to us. I know this is a difficult concept for the member opposite to grasp. I know there's lingering cynicism from their practices over the last decade. That is not the way we do things, Mr. Speaker, and I'm looking forward to us realizing that, all of us together.
I know members don't want to question the intelligence of members here. We've got a very intelligent group, all 337, and then there's me, but that's another matter.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Temiskaming. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised to respect our veterans, but today we learned that only high-ranking vets will actually benefit from the increased benefits promised in the budget for injured vets who are unable to work. It makes no sense. Under its plan, the government is even even going to demote some vets. Does the government realize that one of the worst insults to a soldier is a demotion? What's the minister waiting for? It's time to fix this. The Honourable Minister.
Budget 2016, we've fulfilled our mandate commitment to increase earnings loss benefit to 90% of a veteran's pre-release salary, up from 75%. We committed $5.6 billion in financial security to veterans in Budget 2016. No veteran will receive less as a result of these changes, and Mr. Speaker, I'm looking forward to many, many, many more veterans having more money in their pocket to build their lives.
Member for London Fanshawe.
When Liberals promised an increase in benefits for permanently injured veterans, they failed to mention that their plan would benefit higher-ranking officials the most. What?
What's going on over there?
What's going on?
Oh, come on. Let us start over. I can't even hear what's going on over there.
Mr. Speaker, may I start again?
I'm not sure what the problem was. It was a reaction to something. The honourable member for London Fanshawe has the floor. I ask her to put her question.
When Liberals promised an increase in benefits for permanently injured veterans, they failed to mention that their plan would benefit higher-ranking officials the most, while rank-and-file veterans would see minimal increases. Mr. Speaker, New Democrats believe that veterans, all veterans, regardless of rank, deserve to be treated with dignity. Mr. Speaker, this government is humiliating veterans. Why are they leaving behind those with the least? Why are Liberals treating our nation's most vulnerable veterans so disgracefully?
Minister of Veterans Affairs.
We committed to treating veterans with care, compassion, and respect, and delivering on financial services. We did that in this budget in 2016. I would ask the member to go back to my mandate letter, which said we would raise veterans' earning loss benefit to 90% of their pre-salary release. That's exactly what we did, delivering $5.6 billion in financial security to veterans and their families.
Red Deer Lacombe.
Speaker, the Liberals had a March Madness to remember. $27 towel bars, TVs for everyone, and a $2,500 desk for the defense minister. But, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the spending pack is the infrastructure minister. He racked up a whopping $835,000 for a shiny new office, including an amazing $243,000 on furniture alone. At a time when Albertans are struggling to find work, why does this Edmonton minister think it's appropriate to spend almost $1 million on Sky Palace 2.0?
The Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, prior to this government taking charge, we did not have a solely dedicated ministry for infrastructure. We didn't have a solely dedicated DM for the infrastructure. We didn't have any staff to support the minister and the DM. So what we have done, the expenditures that the honourable member is talking about are to provide support staff, office space, the minister office space, and the DM office space. And we have followed the guidelines from the Treasury Board, and we are here to create efficiencies.
Honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we had a great minister of infrastructure. Now we know what a poor minister of infrastructure is. Mr. Speaker, we know Liberals like to help themselves to taxpayers' money, and the facts are clear. The minister, obviously entitled to his entitlements, decided to spend nearly $1 million on his shiny new digs. But, Mr. Speaker, $250,000 on couches and TVs? Why is the only infrastructure money spent in Canada so far spent on posh offices for Liberal ministers?
The Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, the expenditures the member is referring to is to provide office space for the minister, for the DM, as well as the staff members to support the minister and the DM. We are focused on delivering on the commitments that we made to Canadians. That's why we're consolidating on one floor the entire ministry to create efficiencies and live up to the expectations of Canadians in order to deliver on our commitments for infrastructure, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Speaker, the infrastructure has a mandate. That mandate is supposed to involve investment in public transit, green infrastructure, and social infrastructure like affordable housing. His objections should be to encourage economic growth. Can the minister explain how spending $250,000 on furniture for himself achieves that mandate? Does this minister truly believe that this is a good use of taxpayers' dollars?
The honourable member, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Speaker, we are proud that we have committed to invest $120 billion to support public transit, to support investment in affordable housing, to support investment in cultural, recreational facility, to make our infrastructure more resilient to climate change. Unlike the previous government, we are delivering on those commitments right now, right away, instead of waiting for 2 years and missing 2 construction seasons and leaving Canadian communities behind, Mr. Speaker.
For Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, let's go back to the real issue. This minister can try to explain his lavish spending all he wants. The point is, he spent $250,000 taxpayer dollars on couches and coffee machines. This side of the House knows that his spending does nothing for Canadians. When will this minister admit that the only infrastructure plan he has is to beautify his own office?
The Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, I answered the question on the expenditures, right? And I don't know which part of my answer the honourable member does not understand. This is a stand-alone ministry that did not exist before. We didn't have a dedicated DM. We didn't have a dedicated minister to deliver the commitments that we made to Canadians. Mr. Speaker, in the past, the previous government wasted 2 construction seasons, not taking a single investments into communities. We want to do differently, and that is why we're delivering on the commitments we made to Canadians.
For Courtney Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, after all 3 parties agreed during the campaign, small business owners were counting on legislated tax cuts to help grow their business and create jobs in our communities. The Liberals broke their word, and their omnibus bill gets rid of this important help for small business. Just yesterday, Liberals voted down NDP amendments to fix the bill. Why did Liberals vote against their own election promise, and why did they vote down relief for Canada's best job creators?
Minister of Small Business and Tourism.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker. Small businesses are the backbone of the economy. They are our job creators. And for small business owners to succeed, they need a robust economy. They want increased revenue. So our middle-class tax cut puts money in the pockets of Canadians that need it most. Middle-class Canadians are also our customers. They buy the products and services that our small businesses need. Money in the pockets of Canadians is good for the economy. It's good for growing the economy, and we will grow this economy like we promised Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Skeena Bulkley Valley.
For months, Liberals have been asking for ideas about how best to change our democracy. And yet every time myself, my friend from Rosemont, La Petite Patrie, and New Democrats have offered solutions, Liberals have rejected them. Canadians are growing concerned and expect that when Parliament passes any new voting system, it must have the support of other parties in this place. So today, will the minister take a first and important step and agree to change the Liberal-dominated committee to one that is fair to all members of Parliament and the millions of Canadians we represent?
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for his work on this file and for proposing the motion he's proposed for us to talk about tomorrow. I welcome all members of this House to engage in this conversation. I know there's a lot of passion in this House. I know there are a lot of good ideas in this House, and I look forward to receiving all of them beginning tomorrow.
For Glengarry, Prescott Russell.
Monsieur le Président, en cette journée mondiale du lait.
Mr. Speaker, on World Milk Day, we must note that in Canada, supply management helps support the dairy industry, 12,000 farms and families, 200,000 jobs, and the $20 billion that it contributes to our economy. While people, not to mention some Conservative Party leadership candidates, want to eliminate supply management, can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture share with this House Canada's position on this issue? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Monsieur le Président, en tant qu'ancien...
Mr. Speaker, as a dairy producer, I'd like to wish everyone an excellent World Milk Day. Contrary to the opposition, our government supports supply management and our dairy sector. We find it unacceptable for members opposite to support the abolition of supply management, which is a pillar of stability for farmers, their families, and rural communities. Our party fought in order to put in place supply management, and we will continue to defend it from those who want to abolish it.
And
I would like to ask the honourable member for Bellechasse-Lévis to restrain himself.
Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, while Albertans are reeling from job losses and devastating forest fires, the Finance Minister is charging taxpayers $4,000 per flight for a staff to see New York. Yikes. Economy flights to New York are $600. Even business class is $1,200. Canadians control their spending. The government should control theirs too. How did the Finance Minister manage to spend $4,000 a person to go on a lavish trip to New York?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, as finance ministers before me have done, I've taken the opportunity after presenting my budget not only to travel across Canada to tell Canadians about the measures that we're putting in place for them, but to travel internationally to talk to investors, economists and others who will actually make investments into our country to help us to grow the economy, to make Canada better for this generation and for the next generation. We're proud of what we're doing and we look forward to continuing to do it in years to come.
The honourable member for Lakeland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it needs a new travel agent. As each day passes, Canadians learn the Liberal family reunion in Washington cost more and more money. Initially, the Liberals claimed the whole trip was $25,000. Now they're saying it's at least $250,000. And it's about priorities, Mr. Speaker. How can the Liberals justify this runaway bill to taxpayers when they brought along their Director of Advertising but actually left the Natural Resources Minister at home?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries.
Mr. Speaker, I'll explain exactly how we'll justify that important visit. It's because of what was accomplished for Canadians. On that trip, Mr. Speaker, a historic visit, significant progress was made on issues as important to Canadians as climate change, as the environment, international security, defence cooperation, the Global Coalition Against ISIL, trade, transborder security. Mr. Speaker, we're proud of that trip. We're proud of what was accomplished, and all of the costs, as the member well knows, were proactively disclosed by a government that's committed to openness and transparency.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the government was telling everything about the trip to Washington when they said it cost $25,000. We know full well that it's 10 times higher than that, $257,000 rather. Mr. Speaker, there were 21 people from PMO, 21. And even the advertising director, Mr. Speaker, how can the government claim that it is well managing taxpayers' money when it's spending recklessly for these trips abroad? The Honourable House Leader. Mr. Speaker, perhaps a member opposite isn't accustomed to delegations from Canada to the U.S. because our Prime Minister's visit there was the first one since '97 to the States, where Canada had such an honour bestowed upon it. All of the expenditures were disclosed proactively, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our commitments. And, Mr. Speaker, what's also important for us is progress that was accomplished on very important files and issues that are important for Canadians. We're proud of the visit. The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance stated yesterday that $12,000 was spent by 3 people to travel to New York. Now, when you know that you can reserve a seat for a few $100s, that leads us to be very skeptical. Can the minister tell us clearly how his employees got to New York? Were they in economy class, in business class? Were they traveling on government aircraft, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, as previous Ministers of Finance, I too understand that it's important to communicate with Canadians and with investors across the world on issues important to Canada. Our budget was very important for Canadians, and also important for international investors. And that is why I have traveled in order to focus on growing the economy with new investments to Canada. Thank you.
Hamilton Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, millions of Canadians do not have enough savings to retire in dignity. This is a national crisis requiring national leadership. But after making big promises to boost the CPP, Liberals are now playing down expectations. They're refusing even to say what they're proposing to the provinces. Mr. Speaker, New Democrats believe all Canadians deserve to retire in dignity and security. So do Liberals believe in the goal of doubling CPP benefits? And what exactly is the minister planning to propose to the provinces?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question and say that we join him in wanting to ensure that Canadians have a fair and real shot at retiring dignity. We want to help them to save so that they can have the appropriate opportunity that generations before have had. We are working in a collaborative fashion with provinces across the country, as we know is necessary in order to get to a conclusion that will actually come to make a better situation for Canadians through an enhanced Canada pension plan. That is our goal, and we look forward, hopefully, to be able to announce more on that in the coming months.
The Salaberry-sur-Roi.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, today is World Milk Day, an opportunity to underscore the important contribution of the dairy industry to our economy that contributes some $19 billion. But the Liberal government, which claims it wants to support supply management, is abandoning our dairy producers by refusing to resolve the issue of diafiltered milk. Producers are more than fed up with Liberal inaction. There is a march coming to Ottawa, and they will be demonstrating it in front of Parliament tomorrow. To protect our economy in the regions, will the Liberals finally respect their promise to resolve this issue of diafiltered milk? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, we're aware of the concerns of the industry with respect to the use of diafiltered milk in the making of cheese. In recent weeks, we have listened to them. We have had several very productive discussions that will help us to put in place a sustainable long-term strategy for the sector. Mr. Speaker, we are the government that strongly supports supply management.
And the honourable member for Battleford Lloydminster.
Mr. Speaker, at last week's G7 in Japan, the Prime Minister showed real indifference to Prime Minister Abe's push to seek early ratification of the TPP. The Prime Minister, however, seems much more inclined to push for an early deal with China. Well, that's a very important market for us, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has also said, and I quote, "It's important that people know that when they sign a deal with Canada, a change in government isn't going to lead to that contract being ripped up." Why won't the Prime Minister prioritise ratifying the TPP before holding trade talks with China?
Parliamentary Secretary for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, this government clearly supports free trade as a way to create growth and create jobs, good jobs for the middle class. Witness our success, Mr. Speaker, with getting the CETA Accord back on track after it had fallen completely off the rails. When it comes to the TPP, Mr. Speaker, none of the other 12 countries have ratified the TPP, and that includes Japan. We have promised to consult Canadians, Mr. Speaker, from coast to coast to coast, and that's precisely what we are doing.
Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Speaker, the Prime Minister is making plenty of time today to meet with China's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Wang Yi. But can he tell us, did he stand up for our interests and condemn China's aggressive activities in the South China Sea, activities that are seriously upsetting stability in the region? Will the Liberals stand by our allies and keep their word, or are they playing diplomatic games just to please the Chinese government?
Here, here. Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We believe that engaging with China in a comprehensive way is the most effective way forward. Having regular high-level interactions with China on a range of issues will allow us to continue to have frank and honest conversations to find common ground on difficult issues, including, of course, human rights. We consistently raise human rights concern with the Chinese government. The Minister is busy doing that today. Thank you very much.
A member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, Kevin Garrett, a Canadian citizen who for years has assisted humanitarian programs into North Korea from his cafe in Dandong, China, has been imprisoned in China since 2014, indicted on phony and unsubstantiated charges of spying. Where our previous Conservative government spoke out strongly on Mr. Garrett's behalf, protesting the lack of evidence, the Liberals have only expressed concern. Mr. Speaker, why is an innocent Canadian being abandoned so the Prime Minister can pursue his fresh start with China?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Consular Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the contrary, the Garretts have not been abandoned by this government. We continue to be engaged in this file. We have expressed our concern for the well-being of the Garretts, and we have repeatedly raised the issue with Chinese officials at the highest levels. We'll continue to persist for our call for their return home safely.
Member for Niagara Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The manufacturing sector is a cornerstone of Canada's economy, but countries are becoming increasingly competitive when it comes to attracting high-tech investment. With nearly 1 in 8 jobs here in Canada linked to foreign investment, can the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development update this House on the government's efforts to attract high-quality jobs within our country?
Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member from Niagara Centre for his question and for his efforts as a former mayor and now the Member of Parliament in promoting economic development. From day one, our government has been focused on attracting job-creating investments to this country. Today, our commitment is paying off with GE Canada selecting Welland, Ontario as a location for its new quote-unquote brilliant factory. This facility will create 150 jobs in Phase 1 and begin production in 2018, Mr. Speaker. We're working with Export Development Canada, and this initiative speaks to our commitment to growing the economy and creating jobs.
Member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many residents in northern BC are still awaiting the Liberals' final decision on Pacific Northwest LNG. In fact, a group of these residents have traveled all the way across Canada promoting LNG and are with us here today. MLA Pat Pym, Alan Yu, Christy Lear, Ramona McDonald, Chris Lafrada, Jason DeBrule, and Dion De Silva. Mr. Speaker, we are looking for answers. When will the Liberals stop the delays and approve BC LNG so my residents can get back to work?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are engaged in a fair and thorough review process. I met the individuals in question today. We hear from all stakeholders. There are significant concerns around the project, but we're working with the proponent. Once we have the sufficient information, we will make a decision within 90 days. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I point out to the government that the construction season is well underway and that it is very short, in fact, and despite the meagre amounts promised to victims of pyrrhotite, people are still waiting. Homeowners affected are worried, and rightly so, because they might miss the entire 2016 construction season. What's more, this delay penalizes families who are working so hard to make ends meet with difficulty. Can the federal government commit to transfer, as of this week, the $10 million in the budget for this issue? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised to hear you, but I'm very pleased to say that, first of all, this is an important issue to compensate to people affected by pyrrhotite. For 10 years they were ignored, and Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say that on this side of the House, during the election campaign, we made a commitment with the Prime Minister to help victims of pyrrhotite. There was $30 million set aside. We made the promise, we've kept it, and the Prime Minister himself met with victims to show the importance of it. We made a promise, and we're keeping it to help the victims of pyrrhotite. The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille. Mr. Speaker, colorful and attractive packaging for tobacco products are a key part of brand recognition and loyalty among users. Studies have shown the impact that they have on children and young people. Our government was elected last October with the mandate to introduce plain packaging for tobacco products. Can the Minister of Health inform this House of her work in this regard? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister of Health. I'd like to thank my colleague for the question. Each year, tobacco kills more than 37,000 Canadians, and 87,000 people become smokers. We can and must do more by launching consultations to regulate the size and packaging for tobacco products, to make them plain, and to reduce the impact. The government is confirming its commitment to the health of Canadians.
For Caribou Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, time is running out on a new softwood lumber deal. Yet the Minister of Trade sees the 100-day deadline for a new deal as more of a checking-in period. No progress is being made, and the U.S. election is coming up. This government continues to tell Canadians to hang in there, which is unacceptable. What do the Liberals have to say to the hundreds of thousands of Canadians employed in the forestry sector whose jobs are on the line, aside from hang in there?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, we're working very hard to get a good deal for all of Canada on this softwood lumber file. The government recognizes the importance of the industry across Canada. Officials from the USTR met with the Canadian team here last week in Ottawa. There is a subsequent meeting planned. The Minister is engaged. The Ambassador is engaged, Mr. Speaker. We are going to get a deal that ensures access, stable access to the American market.
For Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Referendum is indeed a noun, and like all nouns, it has a definition. This one is found in the Referendum Act of 1992, which makes it clear you can only hold a referendum in Canada, unless we go through the process of changing that act, on a constitutional matter. Changing our voting system is not a constitutional question. So I want to ask the Prime Minister if he agrees with me that it appears that our friends in the Conservative Party are not interested in a referendum, or they would have looked at the Act. They're interested in stopping Canadians from getting what we voted for as a majority, a fair voting system.
Mr. Speaker, the fact of the matter is electoral reform is an issue that matters to a number of Canadians, but a few more so than those of us in this House who will be affected by it. That's why we've committed to working with Canadians and the members of this House, but are committed to fulfilling our commitment to Canadians to ensure that this upcoming election in 2019 will, this last one, that the next election will not be done under first past the post. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery, in the ladies' gallery, of the participants of the 13th Canadian Parliamentary Seminar organized by the Canadian branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Another recognition. Almost 150 years ago, journalists took their seats for the first time in the Reporters' Gallery of the original Centre Block, and the Parliamentary Press Gallery was born. Today, Press Gallery members continue to have a place set aside in this chamber, and they perform an important democratic function.
Therefore, I wish to point out the presence in the gallery of two former honourable members of the Canadian Press Gallery.
Bannerman was the third woman in history to become an official member of the gallery in 1946. She was one of only two women reporting on the Hill at the time. She worked for the Canadian Press, the Royal Gazette in Bermuda, the Oshawa Oshawa Times Gazette and the Guelph Mercury. Helen retired in 1990.
Mr. Bernard Dufresne arrived at the Press Gallery in 1954 as a young journalist for the Canadian Press. He worked here until 1960 and came back from 1963 to 1965 as a correspondent for the Globe and Mail. The government of the day made him the assistant to a minister, and so he joined the public service until his retirement in 1989.
I have a member for Brantford Brant is rising on a point of order.
Speaker, I apologize for my outburst during the question period. However, as the father of an intellectually disabled adult son, I find it reprehensible that the Minister of Democratic Institutions would use the disabled, insinuating
The member is engaging in debate, as he knows. I appreciate the apology. The member cannot engage in debate in a point of order. This is a debate. I have notice of a question of privilege from the honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan. A request for emergency debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As per my letter to you pursuant to Standing Order 52, I request leave to make a motion to discuss actions the government could take to address the human rights situation facing Uyghur Muslims in China, specifically in light of threats to religious liberty which this community may face during Ramadan starting June the 6th. The Uyghur Muslim community living in the People's Republic of China face significant human rights abuses. During Ramadan, these abuses have included forcibly preventing people from engaging in this deeply important Muslim fast. In 2015, the Chinese government banned civil servants, students, and teachers in the Xinjiang region where most Uyghurs live from fasting during Ramadan. It also ordered restaurants to stay open. On January